Welcome back, everyone. And before the break, we were looking at our verse from the Quran, and it was very apt because it was talking about engaging with the other and how to behave and how to do it without destroying each other, which is very important because these days, we see the exposure of social media. You have television, you have newspapers, but social media is extremely dangerous because people as the young kids as young as the ages of 11 and 12 have access, so they're being exposed to things that they may not have the capacity to deal with because adults struggle with what's happening on the digital platform. So to talk about how this is affecting our patience, our tolerance for each other, and and all the different elements that go into it, we've been joined by some very wonderful guests. It's always a pleasure to introduce this guest. We've been joined by Dr. Aiza Abid. She is an education psychologist. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Always good to be here, and you always come up with such challenging topics.
Thank you. We do try, and that's thanks to our producers as well. So thank you for being here. And these kind of conversations, I love them. Anything based in psychology or kind of reflection, I'm there. Besides Dr. Aiza Abid, we've been joined by Dr. An-Nahal. She is a clinical psychologist. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning.
Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for being here. It's Friday. I apologize for that. Now, let's get started with the conversation because we always have a lot to cover and we never get time to do it all. But we're talking about patience and tolerance. It's Ramzan, where we're being, it's the ultimate test. Dr. Aiza, how can we curtail our natural impulses when we are putting ourselves in extremely challenging circumstances? So, we're not eating, we're not drinking, and then we're getting frustrated and angry. So how do we control our knee-jerk reactions initially? Let's start from that.
Well, the whole exercise is basically to develop a self-control. The purpose of fasting, the purpose of Ramzan, the whole set of fasts is basically to help us regulate our internal systems. And when we are regulating the physical systems, it involves the cognitive functioning, the executive functioning. So we have to think what we are doing. We just can't get into any situation and say, okay, I'm fasting, so therefore everybody must respect me. Everybody must grant me great allowance. So when you're fasting, you have to develop the physical and the psychological aspects along with it as well.
Right.
Regulate your impulses, regulate your thinking, your desires, your impulses. So what do we do in normal life? We drink when we want to, we say whatever we want to, we drive the way we want to. Okay? Now when we are fasting, everything has to take a different view. You can't eat whenever you want to, right? So basically that comes as gratification. We can't gratify our wishes whenever we want to. And that is the purpose of human life under Islam, to regulate our whims and desires in a greater system.
Okay, wonderful.
And it's linked to the whole society, it's linked to the whole community. If I want, whenever I want, and if I don't have it, then I will just burst out. You know what I'll do? I'll set off a negative chain reaction around me.
Absolutely.
Everywhere.
Absolutely, and this is one thing that we have to actively try. And when you are fasting, you have to take things into account. I'll give a story at the end. But now, before we move on to the next question, I want to ask Dr. Anam. Dr. Aiza has just very, very aptly highlighted the fact that we want instant gratification. Yes, we're living in this kind of society these days with especially exposure to social media where everything is instant or appears so
quick. Yeah,
exactly. So now that affects our tolerance and our patience for the other.
It does.
How would you tell all the parents out there to deal with this kind of situation?
All right, it's a very nice question. Firstly, the thing is that it's a research-proven thing that because of the excessive use of social media, and as you have mentioned that by the age of 11 or 10 even then, they are using different mediums of social media. So that is actually affecting their cognitive functioning. So now when they're playing games and when they're using apps, so they just want everything to be so immediate and quick. So, and when that reaction is not given, they get frustrated. Why? Because they wanted it to be in that particular way. So it's very important, I think, well, what you practice at home, that will become your norm, basically. So if you want your child to control that habit of using social media, so that means you have to control your own usage of social media. So if you are doing like what we do, we go out, we do check-ins and statuses and photographs. So of course your child, he or she is going to follow you. So for that matter, you need to control your own behavior so that your child, he or she, is going to imitate you. So the excessive use of social media, games and apps, it has to be something. We need to keep a check on it, that how much your child is spending his or her time on that thing. So instead of that, you can introduce some healthy activities. You can take them out to parks for walks or certain community services. So some alternative should be given to them so that we can reduce that habit.
Okay, wonderful. So, Dr. Isa, you mentioned about the regulation and, setting off a negative chain reaction. How do, sometimes it starts happening, we don't even realize it until it's too late. How do we get to how do we make sure that we don't do that? Because it is a very difficult thing, and we are all human beings, and we're not here to cast any judgment. It's just about trying to get the tools to able to maneuver in this situation.
You remember the time when your grandmother maybe used to say, you will not get your candy until you do this thing. That's the grandma's principle, you see. So if we straight away reward a child, whether he or she has done his homework or task or whatever, then there is no concept of holding back. There's no concept of working for a reward.
Right.
So the regulation comes from understanding to wait and hold on and to work for some reward. When it's like internet, the faster your internet connection is, the greater you get connected.
Very good point.
So, and we just can't wait that 2-second delay because we can't take it. However, life is not like that. You talk to a person, they take time to process, you are doing something, everything takes time. Then you have to, the regulation comes from being able to meet your task requirements, meet what is your, do your chores or whatever, and then get the, like candy, I would say.
Okay.
For instance, if a child wants to watch television, but he hasn't had his breakfast, he hasn't had, made his bed, he hasn't cleaned his room, and I say, okay, go and watch it, do it later. So where's the gratification is coming, and there is no guarantee of doing the job.
Okay.
So parents, in raising children, that's where the regulation comes in.
Okay.
They may seem very strict parents, but let me say this again. Parenting is not a popularity contest. It's about teaching the right thing to your children. So, teaching the children to work, to become self-reliant and independent, and take care of the family as a system. They need to meet family responsibilities no matter how young they are. I'm coming across children who are just not involved in anything in the house from age 5, 6, 8, 12, and then at 18 you say they don't do anything, they don't listen to us. Because you never asked them to lift their plate, you never asked them to make their bed, and so they had so much free time and they did what they wanted to do.
Okay.
So now how do you expect them to just regulate what they have never been taught? A little bit of stress for every human being is very important.
Okay.
It pushes you towards achieving certain goals. If you are totally stress-free, you have just no urge, you have just no desire, and you just want, because you are getting everything you want immediately.
Okay. Okay, so that's one element, and I will come back to this healthy levels of stress, because we are living in a time where people's stresses and, external factors really do play a part.
We can call it eustress actually, which is very important.
What's it called?
Eustress it is.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, wonderful. Okay, so now before we move on to that, I wanted to ask Dr. Anam, Dr. Isa just mentioned about the family structure. Now, we keep hearing, and people are very quick to say that the family systems or the family structure is weakening.
Yeah.
I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, because the way I see people interacting, they do have that commitment to spend time with their family. They do still live at home, or they financially or kind of emotionally, well, financially or physically they're present. Do you agree with that statement where within Pakistan it's being weakened?
Yeah, it is. I think so it is, because it's been 10 years that I've been to this practice, and what I've seen is that we are there, physically we are there, but mentally we're not there. We are right there on the dining table, but what we are doing, we're using our own cell phones, we are telling our friends what we are eating, but we are not talking to our parents or maybe to our grandparents. So the thing is that we need to be there mentally. Plus, family is the first institution from where you learn your norms, your values, your belief systems and everything. So the kind of communication which we have between parents and their offsprings, that's quite disturbing these days. A child, he or she might be going, there's something in his life which is bothering him or her, but he's not being able to go and tell his father. For example, that maybe he's not getting good grades, but he's fearful that what if I tell my dad that I'm not doing well? So that understanding, that active listening, that communication, which is supposed to be there, which is being recommended in our religion, but that is not there. Why? Because they are fearful. There's another thing, there's a constant pressure on the child that you have to be perfect. And we compare our children, like the firstborn, that is going to be compared with the second one, with the youngest one, or with their cousins, or with anyone else in the relatives. So that adds on a lot of pressure to the child. Why? Because he is supposed to be perfect. And when he is not given that margin that he can come and talk to his parents that, see, I'm not doing well in studies, or maybe I'm not doing well in sports, or I cannot join some particular field. But due to that pressure he has on his shoulders, he becomes stressful, or depression can overcome him, or any other thing. So the thing is that for that importance of family ties should be highlighted, and parents, they should be informed that your child, he has his own set of traits and individuality, and you have to respect that. And yes, you have to make him learn a lot of norms and values which you think that they are perfect for him, but you have to give him that space that he can come and he can talk about his personal issues.
Okay, Dr. Aiza, do you agree with the statement as well? The same question to you about the family ties and the family unit.
I do agree with her, because to a larger extent what I'm seeing is a change. Well, of course, we are doing better, lots of families are doing better financially. Then it also depends on the age stages of the children. Under 10, obviously, they're more connected. But as they grow up, the peer role comes in and everything. It is getting scattered. However, the issue, what I'm seeing now is that
Family structures, unit.
the family structure, it's, you see, when we were growing up, our needs were anticipated. Our parents knew that, food has to be on the table at a certain time. The school fees have to be paid, and lots of things were in line for many of us when we were growing up. Right now, things are becoming very fluid. Concepts are changing. It doesn't matter. A lot of things don't matter. What I see nowadays, you see, the lives have changed, the regulations have changed, and because the overall social life has changed, expectations have changed. So because we grew up in a generation where there was a lot of control and rules were emphasized, now I see mothers, young, like in their 30s, they are running from all those rules and structure, so they are very lackadaisical. They don't want to impose too many restrictions on the child. Now what is happening is that the family is actually disintegrating. Oh, it's okay, you can sleep so long. It's okay, you can go whenever you want to go with friends. It's okay, you don't attend family functions. It's okay, you don't eat with us. Because in one way it works easier for the household. Okay, everybody eats whenever they want, they warm up a plate and whatever. In one way, its management is more easier, but it is disintegrating the system at the same time.
Absolutely. And I feel like, it's kind of, I guess, with the previous generation and this generation, it's about finding that happy middle ground. Because, I mean, the reason why I guess maybe the mothers or fathers are rebelling against their control, it was because maybe there was too much control.
Yes.
Okay, so now, so that's the family structure unit. And like you said, there are, within the families, it's, different elements of how maybe they were raised and maybe they're rebelling in their own manner. But there are also external factors that a lot of people face, that are facing in the 21st century. I don't know, I'm going to make this, blanket statement, and this is just mine, this is not a representation of anyone else, but back then, maybe because media, we didn't have that connectivity with the internet. Nowadays, it seems that there's more social, political, and financial elements that are causing people to maybe not invest as much time, maybe to become more relaxed, because they need to provide financially. They need to make sure at least there's food in the house. It doesn't matter what time you eat, but there needs to be food in the house. What do you feel about that, the external factors? How do we handle that? Because that affects our patience and tolerance, and it makes us maybe a bit aggressive.
Yeah, it does. Well, I think that as a nation, we have lost patience. In our previous generations, if you can
I think this is a universal thing,
yeah, it
lack
is.
of patience and
Yeah,
tolerance.
exactly, it is. But if you talk about Islam, so if you talk about being Muslim, so we have always heard that after every hardship there is ease. But that means that there was an identification of hardship, that there is going to be some hardship. You might experience some unpleasant things or some calamities and everything. But in previous 2 decades, we might have observed that people, they were more patient, they were more tolerant if something happened to them which was unwelcomed or unpleasant, but still they had that patience level to tolerate with that. But nowadays, it's not happening. For example, what we see that, even in Ramadan, what we see that on signal there is some accident going on and people, they're fighting and argumenting and they might hit each other. So the thing is that we need to have that patience level throughout the year. This is not just 1 month. This is about your own psychological and emotional well-being. So you need to practice that thing, that plus that financial issues are there, that people, they're not having jobs. So that will definitely increase their stress levels and frustration as well. So for that matter, again, we have to be that reliant. We need to have that belief system if we talk about tolerance and sabr and that concept of that what is made for me, eventually I'll get it. So we need to practice that thing as a nation.
Okay, but the thing is, it's very easy to say that we need to do this, we need to do that. But when you have things with TV and online, everything's being shoved down your throat.
That's the constant comparison which we do.
Let me add to her point. The change in media, what you were saying, the society and the economy, the way products have been advertised since the last 5 to 10 years. My children have grown up seeing that, right? Now, the focus is on have it now, why wait? I was of that generation. We were like katra katra bane samandar, paisa paisa sarmai. That thing is in my line. So saving was, we were PTV, we watched PTV, and we heard this tune every day. And there's this concept that if you save 1 rupee a month, you will end up with so much. I never did that, but the concept was there. So the concept of saving for tomorrow, for some other time, was ingrained in us. Now your whole social media, your employment structure, your, I think, like social relations even, nobody's looking beyond today. So that often makes me think, as a society, we are a people who have to cater for our daily needs. A lot of daily wage workers, because of our, I think, employment structure, our employment level, the economic level is like that. So people can't look too much in the future. They can't save too much. So they have to fend for their daily needs. So that basically makes us a nation which is living in the present. So then we forget the long term. So if you're hungry today, it is more important to fill your tummy today rather than, maybe build a house tomorrow.
Yep, exactly.
So it's short term versus long term. So look into the economic factors, the society, the structure of the society. Then again, the way we think, basically, we think in the present. We can't think in the abstract term. Islam takes us to an abstract reality. Hold your impulses right now and look for the reward which is hereafter. So we have to learn to link all these things, and that is what is the difference between immediate and delayed gratification.
And actually, I didn't even notice, but we've actually completely run out of time. Thank you so much for being here. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it was a wonderful conversation as always. So lots of interest, lots of good advice, a lot of good, kind of portrayal of what is the reality that we are going through. But, it's not all lost. Wonderful activities are out there. There's lots of ways to kind of make ourselves better, and this is what this month is about. It's really about reflecting, and our religion promotes peace and tolerance and kindness and love. So with that, I wish you a very good weekend. If you would like any information on any of the verses from the Quran we've spoken about this week or today, or any of the second segments, log on to our Facebook fan page, which is with the name of World This Morning, our Twitter page, World This Morning without a G, our Daily Motion and YouTube page, World This Morning, and the repeat is at 11:05 p.m. this evening. Have a wonderful day and have a wonderful weekend. Be good, be safe, and I'll see you bright and early on Monday morning.